We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. New York, go, New York, go. Go, New York, go, New York, go. New York, go, New York, go. Welcome to the inaugural edition of the Go New York, Go New York, Go Knicks podcast free agency edition. My name is MME316, Mike Mordecai Einhorn in beautiful Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, New York. And renamed the 1994 edition of the New York Knicks theme song. Woo! We have just free agency has been bubbling and bubbling. The Knicks obviously got their guy, Jalen Brunson, 4 years, between $104 and $110 million, roughly 25 to 27 million per year. And as a Knicks fan, lifelong Knicks fan, at least till literally since the 94 season, I, unlike most fans, I actually do appreciate this pick, this free agency. I've heard a lot of fans on other Knicks podcasts and on the radio. Listen, I don't think he's the best point guard in the league. I don't know if he's never even top 10 yet since last season. However, he's a young kid, about to turn 26 August 31st. So he's coming in the next season, 26 and a half years old, years young, had career year, 16.3 points per game, a shade under 5 assists. But I think he showed promise, and he's a ball-dominant point guard who had to share those duties with Luka Doncic, the most ball-dominant point guard in the NBA today. And I think this kid hasn't scratched the surface yet. I honestly think that, you had to pay a lot of money for him. However, there's a bright future, at least in my eyes. And listen, I only watched him for the most part in the playoffs, but he had some big games in the playoffs. I'd like to get to those stats up right now. And just for the record, even though he only averaged 16.3 points per game during the regular season, he averaged 21.6 points per game during the playoffs. And this past playoffs in 18 games, averaged about 35 minutes, 46.6% from the field, 35% from three, 80% from free throw line, 4 out of 5, 4.6 rebounds, 3.7 assists. And listen, he got there to help get that team to the Western Conference Finals. And didn't have a great Western Conference Finals. He had 2 pretty good games of 31 points in game 2 and 20 points in that other game, in game 4. However, he did drop 41 points in game 2 of the first round, shooting 60% from the three-point line and 71% from the field, as well as having a 31-point game in the next game, those 2 Utah wins. And I believe both of those games, he had to lead the team on his own because Luka was hurt. And I want to count how many games did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He had 11 games this playoffs. We had over 20 points. And so in big games, up until the Western Conference Finals, I will admit he only had 2 good games in the Western Conference. Everything else was garbage. Again, this kid is only 25, about to turn 26 in about 2 months from now. I wouldn't say the sky is the limit for this kid. But like I said, I think he could average about 19 to 21 points per game, 6 assists, 4.5 rebounds for the next 4 years on average. I don't think the 13th highest paid point guard in the NBA. So point guards don't come cheap. I think this is their best point guard since Derek Harper. Screw Stephon Marbury. This guy, we can win with this guy, Jalen Brunson. I know some people have called him a guy who can get us to the play-in game. I think with all the Knicks fans who are doubters on this kid, listen, DeJounte Murray was our top tier for the fans. Trade option. Let's be honest, even the Knicks were all in on Jalen Brunson. They tried to get Jaden Ivey in the NBA draft, but a lot of people were doubtful, myself included, that they could pull it off. They did not. They were all in on Jalen Brunson. I really like the kid. I wasn't even sure up until he signed, which he intends to. That's what it's been reported on multiple news sites, both ESPN.com, Yahoo Sports, and the New York Post. So it's all but done. And this is the best contract value he'll get, because I believe the Dallas Mavericks were offering 5 years, 100. That would be 20 million a year. So instead, 4 years between 104 and 110. That's 25 to 27 per year. So you got top value on a year-to-year basis from the Knicks. And I think this is the beginning of a beautiful relationship. They obviously got this by trading Kemba Walker and Nerlens Noel to Detroit, as well as $6 million in compensation. Kemba Walker will have a contract buyout with Detroit. They also shipped fucking name. The Knicks point guard. Hold on one second. I can't get his. Oh, Alec Burks, who is he was good, but A, he's injured, and B, he's not the future. He's old. He's in his 30s, and he's injury prone. We already have an injury prone point guard. His name is Derrick Rose. So I thought this was a pretty good deal for the Knicks. They also got 7-footer backup Isaiah Hartenstein for about, I think, 2 years, $16 million a year, averaging $8 million. He's a very good backup center who's also a pretty good decent rebounder, and a good spot-up three-point shooter. So Knicks making stuff happen. I could really use this offseason. I would love to see them trim the fat and trade Julius Randle. I'm sure they will try to. It'll be hard because did not play up to the contract that they gave him, which was similar to Jalen Brunson's. Not as actually 5 years at 125. Yeah, it's similar. 4 years. I forget what it was. It's in the hundreds, and we could really use, because I would love to see RJ prosper, get better shooting, as well as Obi Toppin more playing time. And the big thing with that is getting rid of Julius Randle, because Thibs is not going to play Julius Randle, Obi Toppin together. Okay. So I don't think the Knicks are done also. They're still going to try to re-sign Mitchell Robinson. If they do, they do. If they don't, I'm not the biggest fan of Mitchell Robinson because I feel like he doesn't come to play every day. But if they sign him, he's a pretty good defensive player. He's no Robert Williams, but pretty good defensive player. I would like to also show you fans, keep you in the loop of big news of the day. Obviously, also, Kevin Durant, several hours, 4 hours ago, has requested a trade from the Nets. And biggest opportunity for the Suns, I believe they will definitely trade. I think it's highest likelihood that KD goes to the Suns. So hopefully the Brooklyn Nets can get DeAndre Ayton and a pick package of picks. And it's going to be an exciting offseason so far, you know? That changes. Listen, I didn't want, because they disrespected both Kevin, KD, and Kyrie, disrespected the Knicks on their way in. I didn't want to see them win a championship. And let's be honest, 2 playoffs ago, they could have had Kyrie been in the game playing with KD, but that was not the case. I forget if it was just injury or it was just him being a little bitch because of stuff going on in society. Hey, I'm not saying that that's not something that's something good around this, you know, whether that be, I think, Middle East or George Floyd. But at the same time, if it bothers you, then do something about it. Don't just like, oh, I'm gonna take time off for my $36 million a year contract, which Kyrie did sign off on for 1 more year. But in all likelihood, he wants to be traded as well. So the Brooklyn Nets will be without their 2 stars in all likelihood. Hopefully they'll get something back, because right now all they got is a broke back Ben Simmons. It should also be noted that Bradley Beal, signed off on a 5-year, $251 million contract with the Washington to stay a Washington Wizard. So that's about $50 million a year, I believe it is. And Nikolai Jokic, I wish I was in his shoes right now. I was 6'10", from Serbia or Eastern Europe, killing it in the NBA. He's an MVP award winner and 5-year contract extension of 5 years, $264 million a year, averaging $52.8 million a year. Last season, will be getting $59 million in his last season of that contract. Also notable, Blazer and Anthony Simmons agreed to a 4-year, $100 million deal. Bucks agreed to a $49 million deal with Blake Portis. JaVale McGee will be staying with the Mavs. We're going to the Mavs for 3 years, $20.1 million. And Sixers PJ Tucker, 3 years, $33.2 million. Okay, so it's already in just the ensuing last 2.5 hours of the NBA free agency of the offseason, free agency offseason, have been exciting. Now, you still have players like Zach LaVine and who else is a free agent this offseason? That James Harden, he's trying to work out a deal. He opted out of 47 of his last year of a $47.4 million. He opted out, and he will be trying to sign a big-time deal or a decent deal because his skills level has waned with the Philadelphia 76ers. And DeAndre Ayton, he's a free agent. I don't believe he will be staying. There's been I don't believe he will be staying a Sun. I think he will be if KD does go to the Phoenix Suns, I believe it will be a sign and trade, and DeAndre Ayton will be going to the Brooklyn Nets in all likelihood. John Moran, in all likelihood, will get a big time contract extension, and big time trades. Obviously, when it comes to KD and Kyrie, we will be following that throughout the offseason. And I hope the Knicks aren't done. I hope, even if they don't get Mitchell Robinson, which he helps your team, but he's not the main deal. It's like the Knicks, if they could trade the following guys: Evan Fournier, Julius Randle, and package them off, get picks or something they could build on back. And you could include IQ the Genius, because Emmanuel Quickley has a lot of potential for the New York Knicks. However, Brad, you have obviously now Jalen Brunson, and Emmanuel Quickley is still a work in progress. I would be willing to trade him, Evan Fournier and Julius Randle, if multi-team trade or even if it's a 2-team trade, if you get decent stuff back, decent players back, and picks, draft picks, in the future draft picks, obviously, I would be happy with that. So I don't know if they can get any more free agents. I think, we missed out on DeJounte Murray, who I think obviously is a better player and was a first-time All-Star this season than Jalen Brunson. Obviously, you know that DeJounte Murray went to Atlanta by a trade for Danilo Gallinari and quite a few draft picks. But, in the long grand scheme of things, DeJounte Murray does become a free agent at the end of the 2024 season. That's 2 seasons from now, A, and B, that actually prevented Atlanta Hawks from being the now Kevin Durant sweepstakes. And hey, they wanted to go in. DeJounte Murray could end up being, if he continues on his path and trajectory, a phenomenal player. As in my opinion, Jalen Brunson. We will only find out what the future holds, obviously, in the ensuing years for the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks in those areas of point guard. But again, that being said, I'm not going to hate on the Knicks for what they're doing. I'm loving it. Again, I hear a Knicks podcast, whether it be Knicks Fans TV or ESPN New York, a lot of fans every night saying they're not sold on Jalen Brunson. You overspent on him, and we are not satisfied. He's not a game changer. I disagree with that 1,000%. I think he is a game changer, and it absolutely becomes. I want to say his team, but you still got RJ Barrett, and he's an up and comer as well. Both young guys, but Jalen Brunson, you gotta he's obviously the starting point guard now, and he obviously has a lot of power in what's going to go happen because he got that contract. Definitely the highest paid player. Well, him and Julius, the highest paid players on the Knicks, but obviously he is the future for the Knicks with the next 4 years. Again, I don't know the contract options if the last year is a team option or player option, but at the very least, the next 3 years, barring unforeseen circumstances via trade or unhappiness in New York, the Jalen Brunson experiment could be great for the go New York, go New York, go New York Knicks. I absolutely believe in this kid. And I don't think the Knicks are done. Again, if we could trade Jalen, I want to say on Jalen Brunson before I get on that. If we could trade, Jalen Brunson, what was his average? I want to look at his, okay. I want to look at his scoring average. Hold on one moment, fans. I'm looking it up online right now. What was his shooting per game? Oh, also should be noted before I get to that, John Wall, off-injured John Wall, but still incredibly talented and ain't that old, 31 years old. By the season he'll be 32, was traded to the LA Clippers. And if he's healthy and has a lot left, a good amount left in the tank, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George can stay healthy, Western Conference is scary with teams like the LA Clippers, Phoenix Suns, as well as, of course, the champion Golden State Warriors. But and obviously Brooklyn Nets are dive bombing, thank God. Again, when KD and Kyrie disrespected the Knicks, I did not want to see their teams win a championship, you know? So let me look at Jalen Brunson's stats. That's neither here nor there now because those guys are on the way out of the Brooklyn Nets. Even if Kyrie just signed a 1-year deal for the last year of his contract, still, in all likelihood, will be traded. Okay. So in the 2021-22 season, Jalen Brunson from the field shot in the regular season shot 50%, 37% from three, 84% from the free throw line. He had a shade under 5 assists, 4.8 assists, and averaged 16.3 points per game in 32 minutes. Now, if he's a starting point guard and the money they just paid him, that minutes per game is going up by at least 7 minutes, about 38, 39 minutes a game. So he's going to be one of the main focal point of that offense, him and RJ Barrett. And again, I want to say Julius Randle is on his way out too, as well as Evan Fournier. But again, that's a lot of money to trade. But if they in one trade, however, they get a multi-team deal going, not just to shave money off. Those guys, Evan Fournier can play great in some games in the scoring when he's like just spot up shooting and just going crazy. I believe he had a 44-point game against, it was either Orlando or Boston this season. I know he had 44 points, but regularly he's trash. I mean, he's a good spot up shooter, but for the money they paid him, if they can get that off their team so they can have more minutes for other players, such as Emmanuel Quickly, if you want to have a 2-point guard offense at times, as well as Obi Toppin. I really want to see what that kid has. He's the 2028th pick in the draft, and I absolutely believe that he has bright future ahead of him if you develop him properly and just play him. In the very end of the season, when Julius Randle was injured, Obi Toppin had a game of 35 points. The very last game, 42 points. Give the kid a shot, Thibs, please. And you have Jalen Brunson. He's ball dominant, but it was also, I think, from what I saw in the playoffs, a great playmaker and a pretty damn good scorer. I think the Knicks have a bright future ahead of them. I don't think he's there yet, but again, I really believe Jalen Brunson, good shooter from the just field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage, as well as a good passer and playmaker. I think his best and brightest years are ahead of him. Again, when he was that guy, he had big games when Luka was injured in the playoffs because he was the ball dominant player. He was the main point guard, and he'd have to share it with, again, Luka Doncic is the NBA's most ball dominant point guard and player in the league. And let's just, Luka Doncic is a phenom. Don't get me wrong, but Jalen Brunson only shot like a shade under 13 baskets a game. He shot 12.8 baskets a game, and he made half of those. So obviously he's probably going to shoot about, I would probably bet about 15, add 3 to 4 more shots. You're going to make, and you make more shots, have the same percentage, shooting percentage. That equates to about 18 points a game. Don't sleep on Jalen Brunson. I know Knicks fans, we've been starved for a point guard for the last almost 30 years. Let's be fair. I'm not including Stephon Marbury. Fuck him. He sucked, and he was trash, both as a person and as a player. Because yeah, he was fun to watch from one-on-one, but all of his teams until he went to China, they all lost. Okay. In the NBA, his teams lost, and he caused teams to go into disarray, including the Knicks. Him and that Isaiah Thomas regime was not good. I don't think Thibs is going to be the coach by after next season, and that's good because he's not good. He's a great coach with veterans who are proven, but he doesn't know how to develop players. So either by midway through this season or the end of next season, the upcoming season, he will be replaced hopefully by a coach who knows how to do that. So, because again, we're Knicks fans. We are starved for success. This is New York. We're a little entitled. Let's just be honest. But Jalen Brunson, I like that. I think even if he's not a top-tier point guard as of yet, he has a lot of potential to become that player. And again, he's only 25. He's about to become 26 in 2 months. So he's still young, and he's from the tri-state area. He grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey, went to Villanova. His father is a coach for the Knicks, as an assistant coach who played in the NBA. So he knows what I got to believe he knows what it takes to win on a big stage and the mentality you need. Is he an undersized for today's day and age point guard at 6'1"? Yes. So is Steph Curry. And I know this might not sound like a fair comparison, but just because you're undersized doesn't mean you can't be great. Chris Paul, and again, Steph Curry and Chris Paul are far better in their career right now, where they've been, than Jalen Brunson, but both guys are both undersized point guards, and those guys are both Hall of Famers, at the very least, top 15, top 10, top 15 point guards of all time. So I think Jalen Brunson, and also when it comes to Steph Curry, it took him about 4 to 5 years to become how we saw him today. He was a good scorer coming in, but it took him 4 to 5 years. And Jalen Brunson just went through his 4th season in the NBA, and career highs in points, assists, rebounds, free throw percentage. In 2020-21, he did shoot 40% from 3, 40.5%. This year it went down by 3%. That's not that much. And yeah, field goal percentage, 52% in 2020-2021. This past season, it was at only 50%. But yeah, throughout his career, 49% from the field goals, 37% from 3, free throw percentage, career 80%. So those are promising. That is promising. So he's he's been 50-40. So 50% from field goal from the field, 40% from 3. If you get that to 90% from free throw line, who could ask for anything more when it comes to shooting? Absolutely. This is a guy. And again, I don't know where I see it myself and how I feel about Mitchell Robinson coming back, because he's an up-and-down player, but when he's on the defensive end, he is a stopper. And if we could trade Julius Randle, I know I keep saying this, and Evan Fournier. You put Obi Toppin at power forward, who could also probably play a big small forward, but primarily power forward. Mitchell Robinson at center. Jalen Brunson, point guard. R.J. Barrett, shooting guard. And small forward. I don't know at the top of my head. R.J. Barrett could actually play shooting guard or small forward, if I'm going to be honest. Put IQ as a sixth man or even as a 2-point guard lineup and have IQ just play shooting guard as well as being a playmaker as well. The Knicks have a good future ahead of them. So thank you for watching the New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go New York Knicks podcast. My name is Mike Mordecai Einhorn. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. Peace out from the beautiful Bay Ridge Arena Studios in beautiful Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, New York. MME 316, Mike Mordecai Einhorn.